I'm laughing at myself, y'all, because this menopause situation is a lot. But one of the questions I get asked is, how in the world are you 52 with a 10-year-old son? Well, what had happened was, when my hat is to the side because I get hot, the fan is on, and when I turn it like this, I feel like the glasses and the thing is like an oven or something like that. So I have to give myself some air. Okay, so what happened was I was married to somebody I thought was my best friend, and at 41, I became so sick. I had been working out, eating right, all the good things. I was walking, I was doing all the stuff, yoga, all kinds of things, and I looked wonderful. And but I looked great, but I felt awful, and it was the kind of sickness that I could, like, my whole body felt sick. And so let me go back. When I was a teenager, I was told by my gynecologist that I couldn't have children because I had taken birth control. I started taking them at 14 because I thought I wanted to have sex. And they did some damage to my fallopian tubes. So the doctor told me if I wanted to get pregnant, I would need to get some repair and probably do some IVF and all that stuff. Well, I wasn't married or any of that, so I wasn't going through all of that. I just thought, oh well, now I could just do whatever and whatever, and so I did that. Nothing ever happened, thank God. But I wanted to be a mom deep down. I wanted to be a mom for a long time, and I just never could. And every time I broke up with the guy that I thought I wanted to have the baby by, I was so glad that I didn't. And I thought it was God's way of saying, "Child, you don't know what you're talking about or what you're doing." But anyway, I got married, and at one of the worst points of my marriage, I started working out. I needed something else to do with my mind, and again, I looked great, but I was so sick. And I was getting sicker and sicker, and I kept thinking, oh my gosh, I gotta go to the doctor. I have to see what's wrong with me. So I know from experience, when you go to the doctor and you're of a certain age or any age, they ask you about your history, your medical history. When was the last time you had a period, all that kind of stuff. And so I wanted to be able to answer all those questions like an intelligent adult. So or are you pregnant? Oh, they ask you all that stuff. And I have prayed to become pregnant for many, 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 many years. And I've bought many tests. I'm certain I've bought $500,000 worth of pregnancy tests, and none of them told me that what I wanted to hear, which was that I was pregnant. And thank you, Jesus. But anyway, so this time I'm like, okay, just take another test just because they're going to ask you and you don't want to go in there saying something that's not true, blah, 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 blah. So I went. At the time, I was driving an SUV, a huge SUV, and I'm sitting in the SUV, and it always took me about 30 minutes before I could pull off because it's something about when I would get in that truck, I just felt so nauseous. And I thought, okay, it took me about 25 minutes. So I said, okay, I'm going to go to the Walmart. I'm going to get my stuff, come back, and do whatever I had planned for the day. So I get to Walmart and I'm leaving. I'm checking out, and I'm at the checkout, and there's like these little pregnancy tests, and they're $3, $4 or whatever. Cool, Rhonda, get a pregnancy test, take the pregnancy test just so you can check that box. I never in a million years thought that I would be pregnant because, again, $500,000, never pregnant. Get home, throw the pregnancy test under the bathroom sink. I'm on the phone. This is the day before Labor Day, 2014. And I'm on my phone with my best friend in the middle of the night as usual, and we keying and all of that stuff. And I said to her, Brian, I feel sick. I don't know what's wrong. I think I'm going to go make a doctor's appointment. But I bought a pregnancy test today, and again, she's been on this road with me forever, and she was like, okay, nothing big. So in the middle of our conversation, I go to the bathroom. I said, you know what? Just take the pregnancy test while you're doing it. Get this over with because you need to go to the doctor soon. So I'm going to the bathroom. I don't want to get too deep. Going to the bathroom, and I take the pregnancy test, and in seconds. I said, what does the 2 line mean? Because I never saw 2 lines before. I think I know what 2 lines mean, but I'm in denial because I know I'm not pregnant because I wanted to be pregnant. And when I wanted to be pregnant, I never was pregnant. And now that I hate my husband and I wish I had never made this decision, I know good and well this thing is not telling me that I'm pregnant. But just 2 lines. So I come back to the phone and I said, friend, listen, I got 2 lines. Isn't that that's a process? I said, what does that mean? She said, that means you're pregnant. I said, no, that's not what it means. She said, but you've been doing this for a long time. You know that it's never. Anyway, so I'm saying, okay, God, what are you saying? I know you're not saying I'm pregnant when I don't even like him and he don't like me, and I'm okay with that. I just know you're not telling me right now at 41 that that I'm anyway. So I get up the next day and I'm like, okay, I gotta find this out because I can't live. I gotta find out what is really going on. I find this urgent care. I go there with my pregnancy test pissy in hand, and I get there and I say, hey, I am a 41-year-old woman, and I took a pregnancy test, and here's the results. And this little woman said, okay, ma'am, why are you here if you have the pregnancy test in your hand? And I said, because I don't think this is true. So I would like you to do the high volume clinical version of the Walmart $3 test that I took, because I know that you have a technology from outer space that will certainly tell me what is really going on. And so she said, at this point, the pregnancy tests are pretty advanced, and whatever it said is probably the truth, but we'll do it if you want it done. Please, miss, please, because I need to know. I'm 41, I kept saying to her, and she's about 23 years old. Anyway, she does the test and she comes right back. She's like, you're pregnant. Who? I said. She said, yeah, you're pregnant. I said, can you give me like a printout of that? Like, I need it in writing because I'm not. So she goes into another room. She comes back with a doctor, and he says, ma'am, are you in any kind of danger? Are you in trouble? Like, do you need help? And I thought, wait, what does that have to do with being pregnant? And because I was so outdone with the fact that they were telling me that I was 41 years old and pregnant, that they thought, oh, gee, somebody must be at home hurting her, because I what? Anyway, they give me the documents and my little P-test thing. They told me throw it in the trash. I said, miss, please don't, I need to take that home with me because I got to show this to my husband with the paper and all of that stuff. So I get home and I say to him, he's not home. I call him, you need to come home. He comes home. I said, listen, I got something to tell you. Well, he probably thought I was asking for a divorce because that's where we were at the time. And I said, I'm pregnant. Stay tuned.